Hi, my name is Dr. Toh Wong from the Integrative Health Convention. Today, I'm doing an interview with the lovely Carrie Grant, who many of you may know from her work as a voice coach on television and some work on the BBC One show. Very kindly, she's going to come and speak to us about finding your voice on the 11th of February, 2022 at our online event. Please enjoy this amazing conversation that I've had with Carrie and letting you know about what she's talking about, a bit about how she got interested in it. And clearly her passion for this subject comes across. And I think you'll gain a lot from just watching this introductory talk and attending the conference. And if you can attend that day, there will be networking opportunities for you at the conference, and it will be absolutely amazing. You're going to meet a whole lot of people you wouldn't normally get to meet. And we should have quite an international audience that day. So without further ado, I'll let you watch the interview. So Carrie's kindly agreed to share her time with us in February to talk about finding your voice. I think really important in this day and age. Carrie, could you tell us a little bit more about what you're going to talk about and how you got interested in all this?
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the sort of breadcrumbs that life throws at us, this little trail that happens in life that brings together the skills, the interests, the passions, the gifts that you have to make this extraordinary picture for your life. And so for me, the voice, which began quite simply as probably a 4 or 5 year old who didn't get much attention in my house. My mum and dad were about to break up at that point, and I don't remember getting a lot of attention, but I do remember that when I did a bit of singing and dancing, that's the point that I got noticed. And so from a very young age, I learned that if I could do these skills really well, that would feed who I was. Now, of course, that's a very clunky, little child's way of thinking, but actually it really helped me through my childhood, through some of the things that I then went on to go through, which were very difficult. So there's always been an interest in the sound of the human voice in terms of singing. And then some of you may know I went on to become a vocal coach, and that was a really extraordinary career, has been really amazing, and the arts have been very good to me. And I got raised up in the arts and got to do the thing I love every day, which is coaching people. But actually, the biggest part of vocal coaching for me has never really been about the technique, as much as I love that, and I am slightly obsessed with that. It has always been about raising your voice. You know, who are you as an artist, as a human? It isn't just about the sound of your voice. It is about who you are, what your voice says about you. How is your voice reflecting who you are? Now, of course, that works in the music industry because people are making records and they're all looking. I don't want to make sausage factory artists. I want to work with that artist to help them to become all that they can be as an artist. So every individual that I work with is an individual. But the sound of the voice and what we do in the work of the voice is one thing. But I began to realize, actually, feeling that you can advocate for yourself and finding your voice, finding agency, is so very important. And when I became very ill in my late teens with Crohn's disease, I realized I was going to have to find my voice. What is my voice now? Because I've changed. My identity feels completely different. I'm now a sick person, and you're reduced, all your assets, all that you are. It doesn't really matter whether you're a business leader or you're famous or you earn loads of money or you've got a great marriage. All those things tend to take a backseat to just being, I am the person with Crohn's. I am the person with that. You become defined by your disease or your illness. So for me, I had to restore my agency, find my voice in that place of feeling that my life felt quite devastated at 20 to be told I'd got a lifelong incurable disease. And I spent so much time in hospital. My life did change. So I had to find my voice. What was my voice going to be now? It's with this event that's happened. How will this shape me? And so over the last few years, one of the things that I have found fascinating is the science of the voice and what happens when we sing, because we know that singing is the most extraordinary thing. It's the most extraordinary thing in terms of what happens in the body. We've got obviously serotonin, oxytocin, and the endocannabinoid system, which I'm fascinated by, that link between the body and the mind. And singing just touches on all of that. So physiologically, stuff is happening when we sing. When we sing in choirs, when we sing with other people, our heart rates join up. Why does that happen? This is fascinating stuff. So the science of singing is fantastic, and what the health benefits, you know, they're sitting there, they're right there. And I'm hoping that when I get to chat on my little bit of speaking is we'll talk a bit about that. But it's also about just finding your voice. You know, for a very long time, there has been one story that's told in the world. This is the story. It's it's empire. It's the white man's story, and we're all fit into that story. And I think that postmodern thinking has decided, actually, we don't want to be part of that one story. We want our voices to be heard. So in contrast to that, we've become very individualistic, which in some ways has been helpful. But actually, what about if we look at the big story and we kind of maybe deconstruct it a little, and we begin to add in all the other stories that are missing, the missing voices? I think that is what fascinates me. So I come to the voice on a number of levels. I want to hear all those intersections. I want to hear the Black voice. I want to hear the neurodiverse voice. I want to hear the lesbian voice. I want to hear the feminist voice. I want to hear all those voices that should be represented as part of the bigger story. I think this impacts our health. If our voices are not heard, if we are not given agency, the body is feeling that and it responds to that.
Really interesting. So how do you think we could the people, the audience could use all this with what?
I'm hoping that amongst our professionals, what we can hear is, obviously the obvious stuff is the science of how singing helps people. So that sort of goes without saying. But I think it's about looking beyond that and looking at how we hear, how we speak, what we say, and how we hear. Because sometimes we're listening, but we're not really hearing, or we're hearing, but we're not really listening. We're not hearing the heart of a person. I know, because I live with 4 children who have all got special needs, including autism and ADHD. I know I've had to learn to listen in a different way. Sometimes it doesn't involve words. So it's important to actually begin to look beyond the words and hear a person's heart, hear beyond their pain, hear beyond their anger, hear beyond their distress, to actually really hear the heart of a person. And I think that's what I would love to see in our professions. When I go and see the doctor, I want you to hear my heart, not just that I've got a runny nose. I want you to hear me, because sometimes it's about something that's lying behind something else, and it's about looking for that.
Oh, I think that's such an important message, because sometimes, because we're so busy, that's what we all try to aim to do, but we don't get a chance to do it. And
I hear you on that. I really hear you on that. And I you're under unbelievable pressure. But I think what does happen, I know this as a coach, is that I can tune in and I can tune out. So after a while, you tune into that kind of really super speedy analysis of listening. And the more we do that, the better we get at it. So we can see, well, it's not always instant, but there, 9 times out of 10, you can hear someone. You might have missed the detail of 1 or 2 things, but you can hear another story, another picture going on that you are discerning and hearing, and really using all that empathy and the felt space. It's really hard for you doctor people to understand that stuff, because it's hard to evidence it. The felt space. We as artists talk about the felt space all the time. We feel an audience. We feel the conversation. Even if you're not speaking, I'm feeling you. So, that it's entering into that arena, which is a little bit more, can feel a bit pie in the sky, can feel a bit airy and a bit woo-woo. But actually, it's really important. This is how we navigate the world as artists.
And that's what really makes a good consultation for us, because I'm a GP trainer and I train registrars, and I try to tell them, just speak to them like a person, just communicate with them like you would your friend.
Yes. Oh my gosh, and don't we love it when you do? It's so good when you do that, because it stops us from being really stifled and I don't know what to say and how we're meant to react and what's happening with the status in the room. All of those different dynamics that are going on are completely gone immediately if someone treats you like a human. It gives you permission to be a human back.
Well, I'm so grateful to hear you say that, because that's what I feel from my end. But it's great to hear from your end. That's what you think as well. And from coming from a different profession's point of view, I've heard it talked about, but I didn't realize how important that was to you, about feeling your audience, engaging them.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel them. You know when you've got them and you know when you've lost them.
Yeah, that's what we often say. We sort of know. One of my trainees once said, Toh, I think I'm going to get a complaint. I said, no, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I said, well, why? How do you know you're going to get a complaint? He goes, well, they slammed the door shut. I hate you. I'll never come back and see you again. I'm going to make a complaint. And I thought, oh yeah, they're probably going to make a complaint.
Let you know.
They let you know, and but the smaller thing is, if you don't feel good at the end of it, like you say, I've done a demonstration at a conference before in person with metronomes, how metronomes eventually synchronize, just like people synchronize, like you say, during singing or during a talk, when listening to a story, and I believe in a one-to-one interaction as well. And when it's not gone well, because both of you leave feeling unfulfilled.
And it's learning to trust that. That's the thing. It's learning. It's like what I would call it gut instinct, that felt space. Learning to trust it. And unfortunately, we could talk for hours, but the education system, I believe, knocks all of that out of our kids. It's like, don't trust that. That doesn't matter, because all that matters is what's on the page. And I think it affects every area of our lives. The more we can embrace that felt space and actually tune into that, that it impacts everything.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm sure they'll learn. Our audience will learn so much. So it's usually doctors and nurses, healthcare professionals, and lots of therapists, and some interested members of the public. I'm sure they'll be so interested in what you have to share. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Thank you.